not about politics. It's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. We're just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Mike Renner. Mike, we got some AFC grades to give out today. We got a jam-packed show. We did NFC grades yesterday. If you were in the chat, it was a lot of fun. We're switching sides. We're going to the AFC today. We're also going to talk about quarterbacks that are in new spots this year and wondering if the grass is always greener, because unfortunately, Mike, it doesn't seem like that's the case. So we're going to dig into that later in the show. But how you doing, my friend?
Doing fantastic. I'm excited for the grades. It was fun giving out the NFC yesterday. Fun doing the AFC.
We got a little exercise too. We got to walk over to the whiteboard, exactly. Getting our steps in. I'm wearing the Apple Watch, so it helps out. We got to close the rings. That's what we got to do here on this show. Chat, you guys were lit yesterday. God, I've never felt older actually saying the word lit out loud in that context. But you guys were fantastic. We had a lot of fun yesterday giving out the grades, but then getting you guys in the show as well, getting the grades for every single team in the NFC in the chat. We're going to do that again. DT Dynasty, I know that you're in the chat. I saw you before the show. You are our chat champ yesterday, so you got to represent the chat. Anytime we got a little tiebreaker, we're going to get you involved. But let's get the production guys involved as well. We've got Quinn, we've got Sav, we've got Eli, and we've got Stone over in the production suite. Fellas, how we feeling this morning? Look at the green. Look at the bold green color from our man Quinn behind the mic. It's a statement.
I kind of violated one of my rules. You shouldn't wear a bright green color like this on TV, because then if you're somebody that has video editing skills like us, you can Photoshop some weird shit, because it's basically I'm wearing a green screen.
You are.
Essentially.
You are.
So I did fuck up, but yeah, I love this quarter set.
Anybody who has Adobe Premiere skills, just throw whatever you can on Quinn's jacket. And we would love to see the screenshots of it.
Yeah, throw some Steelers logos on that. Quinn would love that.
Ooh, that might be what hurts him most.
You know what?
No.
That's fine. At least that's PG-13. I thought that you guys are going to maybe go a little further than that, but.
Look, I'll leave it to the imagination of the chat, but we'll keep it a little bit tame, and I guess we'll go with the Steelers. Do you have a question of the day? Quinn, your question of the day killed us yesterday. We were talking about Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa had 14 pressures this past Monday night against the Los Angeles Rams. There were 3 other players this year who had 9 or more pressures in a single game. We got stumped. We got the teams right, actually.
0 for 3.
Players got absolutely stumped. We got to bring our A game today. But what do we got today, Quinn?
This is Stone's question. So this one, I don't think it's as tough.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm not hating on Stone. I'm just saying mine was maybe a little over the top. This one's a little more reasonable. Stone's giving you more of a reasonable shot to get this.
Okay.
Whereas I was maybe a little too. I skewed a little too far in the other direction.
No. We need to. I almost said we like it hard, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say that out loud, because then that gets clipped. So I'm not going to say that out loud. But okay, all right. What's the question of the day today then?
All right. Name the current top 3 highest graded players who were drafted first overall.
Look at the font we got today.
It's Jeopardy.
I know, it's the game show font. Name the current. All right, so chat, this is for you guys as well. The question of the day isn't just for us here on the desk. It's for you guys too. You guys answer it. Heck, DT Dynasty is the chat champ because he basically got the question of the day right yesterday. Name the current top 3 highest graded players who were drafted first overall. You said one right off the top.
I got an idea on one. I think I feel pretty good about one.
Okay. It's 3, so you got,
but it is
1 out of 3.
I feel like I have 1 out of 3. I'm trying to think of.
Is it Miles?
It's Miles Garrett.
Okay,
it's the easy one.
Miles is the easy one.
There's the free space. Other 2. It's tough going back. Eric Fisher's not even in the league right now.
I know. Maybe the Colts wish that he was still in the league with how their offensive line is playing, but
quarterbacks off the top.
We'll think about it. We've got some time to think about it. We'll put some brain power to it throughout the show. If you guys want to fire off your answer early on, see if you can get it first right away, you can do that right now. But we're going to be thinking about this throughout the entire show. We will give you guys the answer at the end of the show. This is a good one. I think this is a good question. This isn't too much of a softball.
I'm trying to think. You know what? Is there a number 1 overall pick? Oh yeah, there's one who's in the league still, who was before 2014. I think there's only one in the league still. I think Stafford's the only one. I'm trying to think before that. I'm not sure there's any because Bradford's gone.
Newton's
out. Not in the league.
I guess, yeah. He's in Madden. He's in Madden, but he's not in the league. You're right.
There's a lot of number 1 overall picks that didn't last.
Okay. All right. We've got some early answers for the chat. People are saying not Kyler. Ooh. Felipe with a clutch one. It says Goff.
I don't know though. Is Goff grading better than Burrow?
I don't know if he's grading. I don't know if he's grading better than Burrow, but that's the number 1 offense in the NFL with the Lions.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, he hasn't been good though. Like he's been Goff.
Oh, come on.
He's been Goff still.
Goff is one. People are saying Burrow. People are saying Trayvon Walker. Kyler's a couple of answers, but other people are saying it can't be Kyler. This is a good question. I like this. There are a handful of different answers that you could go with. Keep firing them off in the chat. We like this. Somebody brought up Jadeveon Clowney. I wonder if somebody was going to bring up Clowney. I don't think it's Clowney, though. No. I can't remember seeing Clowney at the top of the grades list.
I don't think so either, but maybe. I don't know. If he's played,
that could be the one that stumps us.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. We'll give our official answer at the end of the show. You guys can give your official answer at the end of the show as well. But to start the show, we wanted to have a little segment called The Grass is Greener. Sticking with quarterbacks. There was a lot of quarterback movement this season, and we want to highlight 4 quarterbacks who changed teams this offseason. A little check-in. How's it going? Was it worth it? Did you actually get a good deal, or did you screw yourselves over? And if the situation is not ideal, we're going to talk about whether we see them being a starter next year with this team or not. The answer is no. We're going to give you guys a solution as well. So the 4 quarterbacks that we're talking about: Carson Wentz in Washington, Baker Mayfield in Carolina, Matt Ryan in Indianapolis, and then Marcus Mariota in Atlanta. Mike, I'm going to start with you, and we're going to start with Carson Wentz. Do you think Carson Wentz is the starter for Washington next year? And if you don't, what do you think the best solution would be?
I think he is.
You do? Okay.
I think he's going to be.
Okay.
Now, do I think he should be? No. But I think he's going to be because of the desperation, because I think at times he will show promise here. I mean, week 1, he had my former podcast co-host, Austin Gale, ready to crown him as having changed things around for his performance against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he had some nice throws in that game. But he's going to have good games because this is like a top 5 to 10 receiving core in the NFL. Like, this is a loaded wide receiving core now with Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel playing the way they are this season. Like, he has a lot of options. It's just you're going to see roller coaster Wentz. And so you've seen it from a lot of national analysts talk themselves into this guy because of the high end that he can bring to the table. I'm not buying it, but I do think with the Commanders, where they'll be drafting, which is probably not the top of the draft, probably somewhere in the mid, teens range, they're not going to have a better option at quarterback. They're going to talk themselves into Wentz again.
I don't know how much faith I have in Washington overall, even outside of quarterback, to where if they were in the hunt all year, and maybe they turn around a little bit here because they're 1-3, I believe, to start the season. If they turn around a little bit here and they're in contention, or at least they convince themselves they're in contention, maybe you kind of stick with Wentz. Wentz sticks around the whole time. And then if Wentz is the only quarterback who plays this year for them, then it might be tough to say, yeah, draft one if you're picking near the middle of the draft and you don't really know what you have out of Sam Howell. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Carson Wentz is not the quarterback of this team next year, because when you look at his contract right now, there's no guarantees on his deal after this year. He's got 2 years left after this season, $26-27 million against the cap over the next 2 years, but 0 of it is guaranteed. So they can move on for free from him. So I think that goes into the equation, plus Washington not being a really good football team this year. I don't see them being that much better. I see this as more of a 5 to 6 win football team. And if that's the case, maybe you throw Sam Howell in there. Maybe you get Howell in there at the end of the season. Maybe Howell plays in December, and perhaps that is the answer there for them. So I'm going to say no. Too much money on the books. If you don't believe in him, you don't believe in him. It's free to cut him. You've got a guy like Sam Howell, which you can figure out something from. And remember the Wentz trade, too. If he plays less than, 70% of the snaps or whatever it is, then that third-round pick stays a third-round pick. It doesn't go up to a second-round pick. So they've got reason to maybe find out what they have in Sam Howell.
I was going to mention that. I think a lot of this does hinge on that decision one And then how, if they do go to Howell because they're like, hey, we don't want to, we're out of it. We don't want to give up a second instead of a third. Do they see what they have in Howell, and does Howell look good? If Howell looks like shit, then they may stick with Carson Wentz and may just ride in 2023 with both those guys. I don't know, but I do think that they don't have a lot of options right now. They're not a roster that I think a lot of quarterbacks are going to be clamoring to play for, and they're not in a position to really draft one. So they kind of screwed the pooch here.
Daniel said no faith in Taylor Heineke. My bad. That's on me. I got to be better. Scott said Wentz is going to be the quarterback of the Buccaneers next year. Absolutely not, Scott. Do not put that into the universe. No, thank you. People are commenting on Washington's O-line, but again, that's a reason why I don't have faith in where Washington is going. I don't know how much better that offensive line is going to get this year. We've seen what Wentz kind of is as a hot and cold, high variance quarterback. Anyways, if the offensive line still ends up being bad, maybe you make the change. Maybe you end up going to Sam Howell. So you think he's still there next year? I'm more skeptical of it. I think that they got some options, especially with that contract. But let's go into Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, do you think that Mayfield is starting in Carolina next year? Is the grass greener somewhere else other than with Baker Mayfield? What do you think?
It's over. It's over for Baker. He ain't starting next year. Things have turned around drastically, and truthfully, I don't see it happening with that coaching staff in place and just with Baker Mayfield being Baker Mayfield right now. So I am worried about the Carolina Panthers, very much so. I think they are in the worst situation in terms of path to a Super Bowl of any team in the NFL right now, just because of their cap situation. They are over the cap as it stands right now, the projected cap in 2023. The only other teams over the cap are the Bills, Chargers, Titans, Bucks, Saints, and Jaguars. Teams that are spending a lot, trying to go all in to win. And in a lot of cases, doing so right now, or have been in the playoffs recently. Panthers have been drafted in the top 10 pretty much the entire Matt Rule era here. They don't have a ton of talent on this roster, and the talent they do have, they're paying out the wazoo. So it's bad. The only option is to throw the season out the window, tank as hard as you can, and try to get one of these quarterbacks.
I'm with you. I'm with you every step of the way. I don't think Baker Mayfield is the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers next year. This is the last year of his rookie contract, as it is for Sam Darnold. So the only quarterbacks that they would have, I don't know if Walker is actually under contract next year, but even if he is, it's PJ Walker and Matt Corral, and then nothing. And you got to think that Carolina is going to have a top 5 pick, maybe even higher, potentially number 1 overall in this upcoming draft class. The solution, I agree with you 100%. Probably C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. Whatever you wanted that to be.
They don't have the cap space to do anything else. They're not going to have the space to find any other solution. So it has to be the draft.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a grass has got to be greener somewhere else. It's got to be greener, because if the grass isn't greener somewhere else, you might have some major issues on the franchise that can't be solved. Want to say what's up to everybody who just joined the show. I saw that the PFF main account retweeted one of our clips from yesterday of the team grades. We're not to team grades yet. We're getting to that in a little bit. We did the NFC yesterday. We're getting to all of the AFC teams today. So just wanted to let you guys know we're talking quarterbacks here, but we are getting the grades. The grades are a big portion of the show. So stick around and we'll get straight to it. Obviously, a lot of people don't think that Mayfield is the answer for Carolina next season. A lot of people agree. They think that the draft is the answer. What about Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. Is the grass greener somewhere else? Will Matt Ryan, who has years left on his contract, be in Indianapolis as their starter next season? What do you think?
I think he will be, because I do think he'll turn this around. And I think the solution is get a better receiving core. Get a better situation there.
Yeah.
It's not a one receiving core, 2 an offensive line right now that's built to put up a lot of points. And so I'm not sure who you'd bring in that would really come in here and start lighting the world on fire. So I think you give it this 2 years with Matt Ryan. He's under contract, $35 million in the books next year. It's not cheap, but cutting him's not cheap either. So there's no real easy way out of it. You kind of made your bed when you traded for him. You're going to give him 2 years. So I think stay the course, but just try to build a better roster. I don't want to say go all in. That's obviously not Chris Ballard's style. But do a little bit more from a free agency perspective to get help for him on the offensive side of the football next year than what you did this past offseason.
It's tough, right? You look at the team as a whole. Colts just aren't playing well. They're not playing as well as you thought on the defensive side of the football. The stars aren't showing up as much as you thought. The receiving core isn't kind of coming together the way that they thought. And I think that they were a little bit overly optimistic about that receiving core going into the season. Highest paid offensive line in the NFL, and they're stinking it up right now, which isn't good. But I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say that Matt Ryan is the quarterback of this team next year, because I don't know if there's better options. He's 18 mil on the cap this year. It'd be 35 mil if you cut him right now. So dead cap, that is. So they're not going to do that. He jumps to 35 mil on the cap next year, 18 million dead cap, so it's a little bit less if they want to cut him, but 18 mil of dead cap is still a lot of money, especially for a team that's strapped spending a lot of money elsewhere, mainly on the offensive line. Ultimately, I agree. I think that they made this trade for Matt Ryan, and I think he is their guy over the next 2 years. You just got to play better, right? People forget, what were the Colts last year through 5 games? 1-4. They were 1-4, and they had a chance at the end of the season. All they had to do was beat the stinky Jaguars. Jags fans, you're better this year, so I'm allowed to say that. All they had to do was beat the bad Jaguars team at the last game of the season, and they would have made the playoffs. And they absolutely blew it. They blew it, no doubt about it. But they started off that year last year 1-3, same thing that they are this year, even went to 1-4, and yet climbed back, had a chance to make the playoffs last year. So they just got to play better. Yeah. I think all the cards are on the table for the Indianapolis Colts. I agree with you. I didn't think that we would both agree that Matt Ryan's sticking around another year, but at this point in time, I think that he is. Last one, let's talk Marcus Mariota. What do you think about Mariota's situation?
I think he's been fine. He's been the guy we saw with the Titans, which is a limited downfield passer. I don't think he's going to make too many mistakes with the football. That's kind of what that offense doesn't need a Josh Allen at quarterback to be successful. It is an offense that's built for game manager type of quarterbacks, for efficient type of quarterbacks. But it does require the rushing threat. The rushing threat of Marcus Mariota helps a lot with what they're doing right now offensively. So I don't think he's going to be the starter next year. I don't think it's going to come via the draft. I think at some point they ride with Desmond Ridder, see what he has, and I think they go into 2023 with Desmond Ridder as their starting quarterback. I just think this team knows it's kind of still a little bit away from really being in that contention phase of where they are as a franchise. And at that point, you might as well give Ridder that time to develop.
For as much as the vibes are decently high in Atlanta right now, especially coming off the win that they had last week, I do agree with you. Mariota's got to show more as a passer. And this passing offense has to be more comfortable, more dominant, more confident going to their stars if you want to be able to say, yes, Marcus is our guy going into next year. Because when you look at his contract situation, he's $4 million on the cap this year. He's got $6.5 million dead money, and then next year he's $14 million on the cap, but only $2.5 million dead money. So you can move on from him easily next year. And again, if you think Desmond Ridder might be a little bit of an upgrade, go for it. That's why you draft the guy where you did, to potentially have him in this situation if Marcus wasn't lighting the world on fire. He has been fine. I don't want to sit here and say that Marcus Mariota has been terrible. He has not. But he hasn't blown the doors off. It's not like he's inspired a ton of confidence in that passing game. I ultimately think by the time the season gets over with, we're going to see Desmond Ridder in there for the Falcons. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah. All right. Here we go. That's the grass is greener segment. Agreed on a lot more than I thought. I thought there was going to be a little bit more debate.
It's the Wentz. The Wentz.
I really
Wentz
thought
is more just where Washington is as a team.
Yeah.
Although we may see a new regime here, which then may.
That's very true. Anything can happen when those things change. I really thought when I put in my show notes, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna be a little edgy. I'm gonna say that Matt Ryan's gonna stick around. Yeah. We ended up having that the same, Maybe
I do think he'll turn things around.
I do.
Like it's been off. Like 9 turnovers, he plays 1 big time throw. Like it's been as bad as we've seen Matt Ryan play since maybe his rookie year in Atlanta. So either he's completely cooked or it's just a new situation adjusting to that. He did look better this week than he had the previous 3, so we shall see if that's time things come.
DTD said Ridder versus Burrow in Cincinnati. We need it. When's that game? Is that soon? Atlanta plays the Bucs this weekend. I don't know when
October 26th.
Well, look at Quinn. He's already got it circled, baby.
No, I did. I called it out I called it out on Renner's Pod on Talking Ball. I said, hey, if you're a UC fan, it could be that Sunday when he makes – because I know they want you to, start at home, obviously, if you're making your first start. But if you're not going to start at home, what better place than where you played your college ball?
Home-ish.
No, home-ish.
Yeah,
homey,
He'd get cheered.
He would
There would be no booze.
Well, the first one would be cheers. And then we might get some booze.
Coming out of the tunnel, yeah.
Yeah, he'd get cheers. And then
third down, it might be.
Right. They're going to be. They got to win the game. They got to win that division. Walt says, I do root for Marcus Mariota. I do too. I like Marcus. I like Marcus a lot. I wish him success. I definitely do. But Cole said, give Ridder the last 7 games. I think that That's fair. I don't know if he's going to get 7 games. It depends on how poor the Falcons are playing. People do say that they like Arthur Smith, though. People say they like Arthur Smith as a head coach. I think he's still trying to figure it out. I think that definitely got to get things more. I've said this so many times, but definitely got to get guys more involved in the passing game, especially Kyle Pitts. But Coltrane says Ritter time already. Zardik Duke says Ritter is solid. Seems like there's a lot of optimism for Desmond Ritter. So there we go. All right, that was a fun segment. But let's do it. Let's take a little walk. Let's get some exercise in. Chat. It's time.
Don't pull my.
It's time for the AFC Progress Reports, baby. We went to the NFC yesterday. We graded every single team in the NFC. We gave them a little progress report. And as you guys can see on the whiteboard, if you're new to this, if you weren't in the show yesterday, I'm going to give teams a grade. Mike's going to give teams a grade, and then the chat is as well. So as we go to every single team, make sure you guys are getting your letter grades out there, obviously anywhere from F to A+ on how teams are doing. Mike, we are starting with the Houston Texans. What do you think?
What a place to start here.
Yeah, we got to get the thick marker in here, and let's try and make the letters as bold as we can.
All right, Houston Texans. What you're looking for is just like the rookies, right? You're looking for the rookies. You're looking for Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills has kind of been blah. Davis Mills has not showed me enough to ignore the quarterback class next year. I'll be at Bryce Young's every game. I'll be at CJ Stroud's every game if I'm a Texans scout because that's going to be the future of your franchise.
Right.
But Stingley has been up and down. Looked solid, not probably still adjusting to the NFL. Obviously, Lovie Smith's defense maybe not the best fit for him. Jalen Petre's been excellent though. Kenyon Green ups and downs. For that reason, we're just going to go flat C. Probably right about, just like it's going to be a while. It was always going to be a while after the Deshaun Watson trade, but you got the draft capital now to get it done. I think the young guy's showing some promise. So for that reason, we'll go see.
See, I'm a little bit more optimistic on this. Actually, I feel like I'm a lot more optimistic. Texans 0-3-1, so obviously haven't gotten in the win column yet. That's not ideal. But going to what we talked about yesterday, it's about expectations, right? We thought the Texans would be bad. This is a team that was destined for a top 3 pick, okay? So they're not going to be a team that's going to rack up a ton of wins. But I think they look good, man. They are 2-1-1 against the spread because of the tie. Stingley, I think he showed promise. It's tough to play corner right away. He showed promise. Petrie, we got to clean up the tackling a little bit, but Petrie looks solid. Obviously, Dameon Pierce, a dog of the week.
Can't believe I didn't mention Dameon Pierce. I'm a jerk. Oh, we're going B+.
I'm going B+. I think there is a big gap here because I thought this team would be putrid. I was not somebody that was believing highly in Davis Mills. I really wasn't. So I thought the quarterback position was going to be rough for him, and I thought everything else, maybe outside of Brandon Cooks, was going to be terrible. I think there's some guys that are playing decently well on that defensive line. I think that obviously the rookies that I highlighted are already playing well, which is really important. And I think they're competitive, man. They're a team that's been down on the scoreboard, gets back into it. I like the identity that they're playing with. I never expected them to be a playoff team. But you know what? They're playing better than I thought. So I'm giving them a B+. I'm giving the Texans a B+. The winless team a B+. Maybe a little high for me. But Quinn, what's the chat think? What's the chat think about this one?
Chat saying C-. DT Dynasty is saying C+. Come on. So we'll split the difference.
I don't know how you do this.
We're going to split the difference.
Until you win a game.
Come on, they're competitive. They got grit. I'm trying, Texas fans. I don't know. Okay, what do we got next? We got the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jags, they exceeded expectations, right? I think people thought best case scenario scraping 500. And yeah, they are 500 right now, but the way they're in these games feels like a lot different animal than the Jags of old.
Yeah.
Now, still need to see some improvement from this offensive line. Still need to see certain things around this roster get better. But as of right now, the most hope you've had as Jaguars fans since they kind of blew up that.
Oh, man, okay. You put us on suspense there with just one line.
Yeah.
You could have gone A. F. You could have gone F. You could have gone D.
B+. We're going to be B+ for Jags.
All right, I'm gonna go with an A.
Oh.
I'm going to go with an A for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, this is a team that versus expectations, I was not sure how quickly we were going to be able to rebuild this bad boy, right? Urban Meyer was maybe the worst NFL coach of all time, right? We've all kind of clowned on Trent Baalke at times for his decisions as general manager, both with the Jacksonville Jaguars and then going back to the San Francisco 49ers as well. This team turned around fast. And that A, a lot of that goes to Doug Peterson. This was the exact coach that they needed to really turn things around. Defense, 4th in the NFL EPA per play allowed, which is fantastic for them. Josh Allen, their defensive end's playing fantastic. He's 3rd in the NFL in total pressures with 20. He's got a 19.8 pass rush win rate. Love to see that. Christian Kirk, their wide receiver, which again, a lot of us clowned that signing of Christian Kirk. How could you give this guy this much money? Come on. He's about to have career bests in yards, catches, first downs, explosive plays, all of that stuff, man. They're using him often. He is definitely delivering. Shaq Griffin's playing well. Tyson Campbell's playing well. Devin Lloyd's playing well. So much of that roster is executing better than I thought they were going to. So I'm going with an A for Jacksonville. What's the chat going with?
Chat's going B+.
Okay, all right.
They're
Agreeing with Mike.
as well.
High on the Jags as well. It's fun to see. Been a long time since the Jags have really been difference makers, so this is good stuff. Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, we just touched on with the Matt Ryan stuff, right? I can't go too low because truthfully I called them the most overrated team in the NFL before the season. I just thought there were holes on this roster, a number of places that were worrisome. Wide receiver 2, left tackle. Those are not places where in today's NFL you want to be weak at. You would like to be strong at those positions, and we've seen it come back to bite this offense in the ass too many times. So that's the worry. It's not good, but I don't think it's diabolically bad. I think there's reason to think they could turn around, but I just didn't think they were going to be great prior to the season. So we're going to go flat D.
Okay. All right. Well, I got to go way worse than you because I said the Colts were going to win this division. Okay. So because of that, this has to be an F for me. This team is bad. On offense, they're 31st in the NFL in EPA per play. The offensive line is playing absolutely terrible, and yet it's got the most money allocated to it in the NFL. Matt Ryan's on pace for turnovers across the board, whether it's interceptions, fumbles lost, whatever. He's just got no confidence right now. We just talked about how it was a slow start for Indianapolis last year, so I'm not losing faith entirely, but this is tough, man. No matter how you splice it, this was supposed to be Indianapolis' division this year, and instead they look completely flat. Jonathan Taylor can't get anything going around that run game. They don't have any offensive weapons that they can lean on outside of Michael Pittman Jr. in the passing game. It's an F for me. It's got to be an F. What's the chat going with?
Chat's going with D. And Trev, maybe you should write that because Mike, is that an O?
I told you my handwriting. That's how I do D's.
All right, I'm going to write it.
I mean, we get it, but yeah, Trev,
I have no consistency between letters.
There you go. Much better.
There we go. All right, let's round out this division with the Tennessee Titans.
God, this division's been tough, man. And you mentioned it. It should be the Colts division for the taking. Titans look awful. Texans are the Texans. Jags have improved, but they improved from a low floor there. But Titans, this is kind of it. I just said they were one of the few teams in the NFL that's over the cap next year. They've spent a lot of money to put together this roster to not be a good team right now. So that's a worrisome thing. I'm going to go a little bit better than the Colts because, well, they just played this past weekend and the Titans kind of took it to them. So we're going to go D+. But it's still not good. It would not surprise me. When we talked about quarterbacks not being there, it would not surprise me if they're looking to move on from Ryan Tannehill this offseason. Cap hit jumps through the roof. They drafted Malik Willis. This is an expensive roster with not a lot of places that they can cut bait from guys. Might not surprise me if Tannehill's on the move. This is it for him.
This team's 2-2. And honestly, they're a lot of what I thought that they were going to be. I'm going to give them a C because you could point out areas that they've been struggling. You could point out areas where they have been playing well. For example, Jeffrey Simmons and Nico Autry, they've been good in the pass rush. You love to see that. Jeffrey Simmons is definitely solidifying himself as one of the best interior defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. The pass coverage grades for the team, not good. They're giving up a decent amount of EPA per play against the pass, which you figure would probably be the case. And then the offense. It is what it is, right? You lose A.J. Brown, you replace him with Robert Woods. I like Robert Woods, but then you're trying to throw Treylon Burks in the mix as well. It wasn't going to be the same. Derrick Henry's been kind of a slow burn to start the season. The Titans, I just look at it and I just go, yeah, they're the Titans. Yeah. So they're kind of right along the lines of what my expectations were for the team, which is not lighting the world on fire. So I'm going to go with the C there. What's the chat going with the Titans?
Chat's going with C. DT Dynasty is going with hard D, so we want to call that C-.
Okay, C-.
Sort of split the difference there.
Man.
Split the difference between you guys, too.
See, Mike, that is a beautiful C- right
I
there.
did that one well.
That is a beautiful C-.
Much better.
Much better.
Still got it.
Mike, you're improving. Baltimore Ravens. Let's go to the AFC North here. What do you think about the Ravens?
Yeah, this is a tough division. When everyone's 2-2, it's difficult to really say someone's shown out and been good, but I do think there's a lot of reason to be encouraged for the Ravens. Obviously with Lamar and kind of how last season ended, how is he going to bounce back? Obviously looking like an MVP early on in that discussion. Defense, though. This defense, the comeback they allowed to the Miami Dolphins, the fact that they still don't feel like the Ravens defense, still don't feel like they're playing up to their talent level.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go B- for this Ravens roster. If this board will stay still for me for one
B-.
second. There we go. Wow.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned the defense. That's, I think, the most disappointing part. They're actually third in the NFL in total pressures generated with 78. But when you look at the pass, when you look at pass coverage, most receiving yards allowed, most first downs allowed. So they're and a couple of those game scripts you mentioned, obviously the Miami game, that really inflates that stat. But no matter how you slice it, they're bottom of the barrel right now when it comes to defending the pass. On the offensive side of things, yes, Lamar Jackson's been playing incredibly well, but outside of Mark Andrews, do they have that guy that they can really lean on? I don't know if they do. So it feels like, once again, a one-man show with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go with the B- here for them because Lamar is playing well. I think they have the talent. They're showing good flashes in certain areas, but it's not all coming together. Just hasn't executed. Yeah. I think the Ravens, anybody that's listened to me has heard me talk about how I think the Ravens could be a potential number 1 seed, a potential team to represent this conference in the Super Bowl. They're not quite there yet, so I got to give them a B-. What's the chat going with?
We're going B-.
Hey.
Okay. B-.
Synergy.
B- across the board. You love to see that. Steelers, the only team in this division that is not 2-2, 1-3.
It was gonna be low for the Steelers before I saw Kenny Pickett play over the weekend.
Okay, what was it gonna be?
It was gonna be like a D-.
Oh.
It was gonna be in that range
because
offense, same shit, different year. It is Mitch Trubisky can't push the ball down the football field. Ben Roethlisberger last year couldn't push the ball down the football field. Some of that's the offense, some of that's just you don't have great quarterbacks walking through that door anymore. That's an issue. Defense getting very old. The secondary right now, outside of Mick Fitzpatrick, is very worrisome. And with TJ Watt now on the football field, it's not the same animal. But Kenny Pickett looked good. George Pickens looks good. There's reasons for hope there. So we're going to kind of split the diff, and we're going to go a flat C.
Okay, so you're just going.
Still think this is not a playoff team this year. Not really going to be competitive, but I do think there's reasons to be encouraged for the future.
I wondered if I'd be low on this, and I guess I kind of am here. I'm going to go with the C- here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it all kind of stems for their offense, right? Josh Carney, who covers the Pittsburgh Steelers, tweeted this out. In the 20 games that the Steelers have had Matt Canada as their offense coordinator, they have just 4 touchdowns in the first quarter. Not just the first drive. 4 in the first quarter through 20 games.
Didn't Patrick Mahomes have that week 1?
He basically did. Lack of creativity on offense is showing up in so many ways. They're the 3rd worst EPA per dropback in the NFL. Now, Kenny Pickett gives you that spark, but we've seen this so many times before, and I don't mean to take anything away from Kenny Pickett, but how many times do we see a rookie quarterback come in, and at the very beginning, it's like, ooh, something new, we're trying different things, we don't have film on them, and it maybe could dwindle as the season goes on. So defensive side of things, they don't have TJ Watt. And it's stop.
Yeah, I mean, that was though, right?
Stop.
I'm just saying.
That was Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying Baker Mayfield for the Steelers.
No, that was his.
That Baker Mayfield is the example. Defensive side of things, I think they have guys playing well. No, TJ Watt's tough. He's one of the highest wins above replacement players that we have in our database. And so when you lose him, it's hard to judge too much. But I got to go with the C- for the Steelers. What's the chat going with?
Chad agrees with you. C-. All
right, C-. I knew we weren't going to get too much love for the Steelers here. C- there. Cleveland Browns.
This one's I went back and forth on because anytime you have a backup quarterback, winning any games is obviously encouraging. So I think from just like that perspective, they thought the wheels could fall off. It could be really ugly. But at the same time, going back and looking through the games that they did lose, Falcons game, Jets game, it's like you should have had those.
Right.
You should be 4-0 right now. This is a team that should at least be 3-1, if not 4-0. And when that's the case, you kind of got to be a little disappointed. So I'm still going to say it's encouraging. Still a very good sign to be atop this division as the Browns. But we're going to go B.
Okay. All right. I'm actually going a little bit lower than you. I'm going to go with a B- for, it is hard to judge Cleveland overall because it didn't really matter until they got the quarterback that they were actually planning to get, until they get Deshaun Watson back. I think Jacoby Brissett has played better than I thought, although when you go into this year, Cleveland had one of the best rosters on paper. The thing that's kind of standing out to me is I thought the defense would be a little bit better than it is right now.
That's a little worrisome.
And that's where I'm like, okay, you get a big bump because you could have been 4-0, but at the same time, this is a really talented defense. I think they should be performing a little bit better. So I think that a B- is the sweet spot here for a team that's playing with a backup quarterback for most of the season.
I am worried about their run defense long term.
Yeah.
The interior of this defensive line with 220-pound linebackers playing behind it, not a good combination for some of the rushing offenses.
They need the beef. They need to beef up front if you're going to have the speed behind them at the second level. What's the chat going with for the Cleveland Browns? And when I say the chat, I don't mean Tyler, because Saab's going to give him an A. A+. Yeah, no, we're not listening to you.
Flat B?
Going with a B.
Flat B.
Go, look at that form. Look at that form to write that B.
It's better than me trying to actually write.
We got to get there. We got to up the technique here. We got to watch a couple of coaching clinics on how to write the letters here, Mike. Cincinnati Bengals, last team in this division.
I actually had to skip handwriting class in middle school because I had to do speech class. So now I talk for them. So Cincinnati Bengals. So look who's talking now. So the Cincinnati Bengals. It's not been good, right? You know, you're 2-2, but one of the toughest schedule according to PFF.
Yep.
Ahead of us here. This was supposed to be the coast stretch. They were supposed to start hot, and to only start 2-2 through the stretch of games that they played, definitely worrisome. I've said this a lot. I don't think the issues that have plagued them have been fixed yet. Are fixable, haven't been fixed yet. So for that reason, we're going to go low D+ here.
Whoa. That was bad.
That was about the worst one I've done.
That's all right. So you're going with
an O+?
You're going with
That's
a
my
0+. Yeah, I was gonna say that's their blood type. I will go. Man, you're going with a D+? No, I can't do that. I can't do that with the Bengals.
They went to the Super Bowl last year.
I'm going with a B- for the Cincinnati. I'm going with a B- for the
I just had
Cincinnati
higher
Bengals.
hopes.
Here's the thing. I know that they went to the Super Bowl last year, but they were a team that caught fire at the end. They got a lot of momentum on their side. I didn't know how replicable that was going to be. I predicted them to either barely make the playoffs or miss the playoffs, depending on kind of what time of the year that you were actually talking to me about it. I think I had them miss the playoffs in my final prediction. So with that in mind, with that expectation, I didn't expect them to blow the doors off. Now, the offense should have been able to come out of the gate a lot hotter. It really should have. Burrow should have been a lot more effective than he was certainly to start that Steelers game, and I feel like they should have been better. That should have been their bread and butter for the team. The other side of things, Lou Anarumo, their defensive coordinator, I mean, he is coaching one hell of a start to this season. Yeah. Sam Hubbard's playing incredibly well. Trey Hendrickson's playing incredibly well. This team is top 10 in overall EPA per play, pass defense, and rush defense. Top 10 in all of them for how well that defense is playing. They've also got 4 interceptions already on this young season. For that, because of how well this defense is playing, I got to give them a little bit more credit for that, although I would like to see more of the offense. So this is by far the one that we are going to disagree the most on. I am very curious. What's the chat going with Cincinnati?
Chat's going C.
Right in the middle.
Average as it
All
gets.
right, so right in the middle with us. All right, flipping the board, avoiding the wall, New England Patriots. First team up here. What do we think about the Patriots?
The New England Patriots, it's not high. There's not a lot of reason. This was the worry, right, when we said last year's offseason, the spending spree they went on. Fool's gold usually in free agency, not going to make as big an impact as you usually think the money does. And we're seeing that. You know, Matthew Judon's really the only guy from that spending spree that you're like, okay, that was money well spent.
Right.
A lot of these guys, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, aren't living up to those big money deals. You know, so you want to pay for impact in free agency. They're not getting it. Cap situation's not getting any easier. And with Mac Jones out a good portion of the season, it's over for them. They're not competing this season, despite them obviously hanging with the Packers this past weekend. So we're going D+ for the New England Patriots. I think the secondary's outperformed expectations. That's Bill Belichick's bread and butter. But the offense, I don't see it competing with the offenses around the NFL, even when Mac Jones is healthy.
So the secondary is a big reason why I'm keeping this a C and not going lower. I didn't have a ton of faith in the Patriots going into this year. You just look at this roster on paper, and basically, if you take away the head coach, you'd be like, is this team going for a top 10 draft pick or playoffs? Because I would tell you they're a lot closer to a top 10 draft pick, and that might be ended up where they're heading without Mac Jones anyways. You look at the offensive side of things, almost everything is ranked in the 20s, which is obviously back half of the NFL, back third of the NFL. Receiving yards, EPA per dropback, defensive EPA, just all of that is in the 20s. They're just not a good football team right now. Pass rush win rate is pretty nice, and I would say that the secondary is playing a lot better than we thought they would. But relative to expectations, I mean, it's still going to be a well-coached team, but It's a C. I don't know what else to say. If not a C, it's probably lower. I'm curious what the chat thinks of the New England Patriots.
Chat says D-. Nobody likes to pass.
D-.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wow, people are sick of Belichick's shit in this league. New York Jets.
I really wanted to go just like incomplete for the New York Jets. It really hinges on, the things we've said about all these second-year quarterbacks. Zach Wilson's development.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen one game from him, and the comeback was awesome. Some awesome throws in that game. Also some awful throws. So a lot of the same stuff we saw as a rookie. So big TBD on Zach Wilson. Because of that, we're just going to split it right in the middle and go C. I think this rookie class looks outstanding. Sauce Gardner, as advertised, as a top 5 pick. Jermaine Johnson in a kind of part-time role has been a great run defender. So C, obviously, I don't think this is a team that is going to make any noise this year, but it's going to hinge going forward on Zach Wilson and how he just looks.
Yep. C stands for coward, because that's also what I'm going with for the exact same reasons.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Incomplete.
judge this team without Zach Wilson. It really is. Now, I will say, while I was looking this up, something that was definitely surprised me, they're tied for first in the NFL in accepted penalties against. They've got a lot of offensive holding penalties, some roughing the passer, and sportsmanlike conduct penalties. Not something I thought was going to happen from a Robert Saleh team. Now, it's a younger group. They're still coming together. I get it. But tied for first in the NFL for accepted penalties, I did not think that I would be saying that for a Robert Saleh coach team.
The Mekhi Becton injury really sucks for this team, right? Like,
Sure.
Not having the guy who looked like your future franchise left tackle, now his career just in jeopardy with how many injuries he suffered.
Tough.
That sucks. But a lot of the other draft picks, I didn't even mention Garrett Wilson. He's been excellent.
Yes.
Quinnen Williams, breakout season for
Yes.
him. So a lot of reason to be excited about the young talent there, which is what matters going forward, right? You can always spend money in free agency. Free agency comes around every year. There's new guys who will be available, but it's those guys on the rookie contract, the cheap ones, that are difficult to find. The Jets have a bunch of them right now.
Sauce Gardner obviously playing extremely well for a corner already. Elijah Vera Tucker, they kicked him out to left tackle this past week, and he was able to hold his own, which you love to see, that kind of versatility. But what's the chat think about the New York Jets?
Chat's going C as well, but since you guys are the teachers, you don't necessarily have to give a grade. You could give him a missed assignment slip.
Oh, missed
You really wanted
assignment?
to. Yeah.
Well, we'll do a delay?
Your mom and dad have to
when
sign
you
it.
delay your grade? You don't have a grade yet.
Delayed?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. That used to be a thing. Never mind. Forget me.
I never missed assignments, so I'm not really sure. That's more your.
That's my bag.
Nerd.
All right, what do we got? Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills, they've looked like the best team. If one of the best teams in football, top 3 team in football.
Yep.
Kind of lived up to expectations. Obviously, a lot of injuries early on playing a factor in some of their struggles. Obviously, the loss that they did have, but still going an-A for them. I think this defensive line exceeding expectations right now, and that's where you want to exceed expectations. So we're going to go flat A for the Buffalo
It's hard
Bills.
to go with anything less, right? This team had a lot of high expectations going into the year, and they look like one of the most dominant teams in the NFL, no doubt about it. 3rd in overall offensive EPA per play, 2nd in overall defensive EPA per play. So it doesn't matter what side of the ball it is, the Buffalo Bills are absolutely dominant. One stat that I actually really liked is 8th most rushes in the NFL of 4 or less rushers, yet 1st in pass rush grade, 88.2, and pass rush win rate at 70.5%. That is extremely impressive. They are rushing only 4 guys, and they are getting home. We've talked about it already on this show, but that makes such a difference in today's age, going up against these quarterbacks that you have to deploy more guys into coverage to just make them look like they're human, to make them actually have some mistakes. And so anytime you can do that, that's a good recipe for success. The Bills have that recipe. So double A's here. What's the chat going with?
Yeah, chat's going with an A as well. Tough to hate on the Bills.
Yeah, it is. It's very tough to hate on the Bills. Tough to find something wrong, especially given the fact that their best corner is not even playing right now in Tre'Davious White. Miami Dolphins, final team in this division. What do you got?
It would have been an A+, right? Through a quarter and a half or whatever of that Bengals game, it was an A+. The Tua saga really throws a wrench into this grade.
Right.
That's unfortunate going forward. So we're just going to throw a little minus on top of the A instead of a plus because of that worrisome. But everything else that you were kind of hoping to see from this team, you've seen it.
I agree. Versus expectations, I'm going the exact same grade. I'm going with an A- here. Right, the Tui stuff kind of clouds it a little bit, and they're not the perfect team, right? So I didn't want to give them like an A or an A+, but 3rd in EPA per pass, which is fantastic to see. Tua, 12th in the NFL in average depth of target with 9. Last year it was just 7.5. What Mike McDaniel is doing, we've talked about it before, to get the most out of not just Tua, but the weapons around him. We see a lot of high-priced free agents sometimes go elsewhere and not get utilized properly. Dolphins and Mike McDaniel are utilizing those weapons in Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill properly. Defense, still a work in progress, 27th in EPA per play. Mostly bad versus the pass. I think that's a big reason why they're down so low on that list. But they're pretty good against the run. So they're getting the defense going well, and they've got a lot of individual stars, Javon Holland, Jalen Phillips, Xavier Howard. We've talked about a lot of those guys before too. So I got to go with I got to go with an A-. What's the chat going with here for Miami?
Chat agrees with you.
A-? Okay, all right. Wow. A- is across the board. Chat, I like the way y'all think. Last division. It's the AFC West. Kansas City Chiefs. We'll start off with them.
So there's kind of two things in play here. One being that I think the rest of the division has kind of stumbled out the gate. And so you're thinking you're in this loaded AFC West, you know, things they couldn't control. All of a sudden they're in the driver's seat and look like they're not looking back at all. So from that perspective, great. Like you are far and away the favorites in this division right now. But from the other perspective of the rest of the AFC, you know, going to the Super Bowl, there are flaws in this roster. There are issues right now with this Chiefs team, namely, you know, the tackle position that I'm worried about. At times this season, their offensive line play and pass protection that could come back to bite them. So I think there's reason to be encouraged. Obviously, you still got Patrick Mahomes, you still got Travis Kelce. This is still going to be a team fighting there in the mix right down to the wire in the AFC when playoff time. But I'm just going to go B+ because, you know, expectations are always sky high in KC.
Okay.
The issues they have, I do think it's a little reason to be worried.
I'm more complimentary of how they are playing, certainly without Tyreek Hill and the questions that they had around them, than I am contradictory. So I'm going to go with an A, honestly, for the Chiefs.
Sure.
Because Patrick Mahomes, surprise, surprise, #1 quarterback in the NFL when it comes to EPA per dropback. He's playing incredible. The offense is still humming, still creative, even without Tyreek Hill, and I think that last part is important. They're creative still. That was the big issue for me, is were they going to continue to be this team that pushed the envelope, that did things that no one else dared to do without a unique talent like Tyreek Hill? They still are. We're seeing those dividends there. Offensive line, I agree with you. They're not sold at tackle, but dude, that interior, Tooney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, that might be the best interior three in the NFL. Yeah. They're the second highest graded offensive line right now in our grading system. And then I think they're getting a lot of contributions from the rookie class. McDuffie before he got hurt. Karlaftis is playing a lot. Isaiah Pacheco, it just looks different when the ball is in his hands. He runs angry. Because of how well the rookies are playing, because of how well Patrick Mahomes is still playing, and because of how well I think that interior offensive line is playing, I got to give them an A. They're executing the way that I thought that they were going to. What's the chat going with the Chiefs?
Chat says A. Again, it's tough to find Chiefs 8.
A for the Kansas City Chiefs there. Denver Broncos.
I may have been a little too generous here. Obviously, things are bad. I don't think they're necessarily as bad as, you know, the public-facing hate that they've gotten. I still do think like their issues are figure-outable or solvable. That's a better word than figure-outable.
I liked figure-outable.
And I think this defense side of the ball is getting very underrated. Their pass rush, Randy Gregory, has been probably better than what everyone thought he was going to be. Patrick Surtain is a true #1 type of corner on the outside. Like, this defense can actually win them games. And honestly, as it stands at the moment, like the rest of these rosters, they might be the second best team in the West. They might be still able to make the playoffs despite, you know, it getting ugly at times here early on. So we're going to go with a C.
Okay.
For the Denver Broncos. I also didn't have super high expectations for the Broncos going in.
I thought this could have been a playoff team. There was a couple of weeks there in the summertime where I was like, you know what? Screw it. Broncos in the playoffs. Let's do it. I don't know if they're a playoff team. They've got time to figure it out. The offense, it's just out of flux right now. It just does not feel balanced. It does not feel confident. It just feels all over the place with what they're doing. And so I don't have a lot of faith in what the offense is doing right now. They got plenty of time to figure it out. But that defensive side of the ball, you're totally right. 7th in total EPA per play, top 10 versus the pass, middle of the pack versus the run, but really defending the pass is something that gives you a lot more value. Randy Gregory, you mentioned, playing well. Surtain's playing well. And the other corners, too. Damari Mathis, the rookie from Pittsburgh, playing with a ton of confidence. Ronald Darby doing the same. So I like this group, but against expectations of what I thought the Broncos could be, that offense is not where it needs to be. So that's why I got to go with a C- there. What else we got? What does the chat got?
Chat's going D.
All the way
that's
down.
why I thought C was generous.
I think it's
did.
easy to give them a super low grade because of how disappointing the offense has been.
Do you think?
Well,
a lot
because
of it
it's
is-
like Russ is kind of the clown right now, right? It's like
Yes,
everyone likes to laugh at
right,
him. So
Right.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think it's public perception because Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson?
100%. Yeah, I think so. But I do. I'm glad that we gave him C grades because I do want to tip my cap to the defense. The defense is playing well. And the offense, the potential is there. They just haven't figured it out.
I mean, they hung right with the 49ers, beat the 49ers. Like, that's looking like a better win than people were probably giving it credit for at the time right now.
Raiders.
Raiders. This one to me is the most disappointing team in the division. If you told me, if you told me someone was going to go on a run that was unexpected in the AFC West, or some offense was going to put it together, I would have said the Raiders. The talent there is insane for Derek Carr to throw the football to. Like, you cannot play man coverage against this team. And when you know that, it's such an easy thing from a game planning perspective, or should be an easy thing from a game planning perspective. They've made it look difficult, though. And some of that's obviously the offensive line struggles, really only having one quality star on that offensive line. But also, it just has not looked cohesive in any way, shape, or form what they're doing offensively at that point. We're going to go D+, because, yeah, they got to win this past week. But
You can write it over here.
Yeah, I don't know. I could.
I'm just letting you know. It's almost like you have this like invisible wall like right here. It's like you can write it over here. If you
Well, we're going to go D+. It's just this team doesn't feel like they're close to figuring it out.
I agree with you. I'm going to go with the D+ as well. It's hard to have much higher here for the Raiders, given the expectation that they have. Yeah, Devontae Adams, you think that offense is going to take the next step. Hunter Renfro's already been reliable. Darren Waller's such a great threat. Maybe Josh Jacobs kind of has more of a balanced breakout season. And some of those things have happened at times, but Darren Waller's usage and production is down this year. Hunter Renfro's been hurt a little bit. Derek Carr leads the NFL right now in turnover-worthy plays with 9. I mean, like, that's just bad. A lot of them came in that first week against the Los Angeles Chargers, but still, I mean, it's not good. I didn't really think the defense was going to be good. They're not really good, so there's not too much to go against there, but the offense is a major disappointment right now. I thought it'd be a little bit hotter out of the gate. They got a lot of talent, but it takes time. These two teams are examples. When you change head coaches, a lot of times it does take time. It's like a rookie timeline there a little bit. What's the chat going with the Raiders?
D-. Just not a lot to like about the Raids.
Man. Last one, Los Angeles Chargers. What do we got?
Los Angeles Chargers, and injury related, like the injury luck.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that is right at expectation if you're a Chargers fan, because it's every year.
Yeah.
But Sean Slater out for the year. Joey Bosa out for most of the year. Obviously, if they make the playoffs, could be back. Those are keystones. Those are guys that hold both lines of scrimmage together. Still think it's a very good team. Still think it's a team that will make the playoffs or should make the playoffs. But at this point, it's hard to be enthused if you're a Chargers fan when you had higher aspirations than just a playoff berth with Justin Herbert at the helm. So we're going to go C for the Los Angeles Chargers.
I'm going to go with the C as well. It's so hard to truly judge with those injuries that you mentioned. And it's not just like, oh, yeah, I mean, like every football team has injuries. Trenches, man. It's two of their best players on both sides of the trenches. That's incredibly tough to get over. That's incredibly tough to adjust to try to fill in for when you've got to put one guy in one position and it probably takes a couple of them to make up for it. The big stat that I have here with the Chargers and why I feel like they've been the most disappointing, Justin Herbert has been hurt. So I think that again goes into it too. But right now, Justin Herbert's 29th in the NFL in average depth of target with 7.4. If you remember what I said with the Miami Dolphins, Tua was 7.5 last year. And we were all clowning Tua last year.
Yeah.
Herbert's average depth of target is less than what Tua's was last year. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Not throwing downfield. That's what you're doing.
We got to do that more. It's one of the best, biggest live arms in the NFL. Come on. Needs to be up. When he gets healthy, we need to chuck that thing down the field. Come on.
Do have to say, though, Zion Johnson's been solid at guard. Jamar Salyer at left tackle this past week. Didn't allow a single pressure.
Dude,
that was the Texans. Whatever. But that's impressive.
How did he get drafted so low?
I don't know how he fell to 6th. Actually, he did. It was a knee injury.
Okay. So it was the knee.
But he looked good. We'll see if it holds going forward, how he plays going forward. But hard to believe that he wasn't better than at least like Storm Norton out the gate. Let's be real.
What's the last grade for the chat?
Chargers could have been a missed assignment slip candidate as well.
Could have. True.
They're going with C. C for Chargers.
C's all around.
C's all around. Bunch of cowards. Incomplete grades. There we go. All right. Those are the progress reports for the AFC, which means if you listened over the last 2 days, you got a full set of progress reports for every single team in the NFL. Guys, while we are walking over to the desk, if you have not downloaded PFF's app yet, you need to. If you got an Apple device, it's really easy to go get it. Just go to the App Store, type in PFF Pro Football Focus. You get incredible fantasy football analysis. You get the betting dashboard. You get all the great articles and insights from every single team in the NFL. Basically everything that you love about PFF.com, except it's right in the palm of your hand and it is laid out beautifully. Look at that. It's just a beautifully aesthetic app right in the palm of your hand. Go check it out. Go to the App Store, download it, PFF.com. Mike, we got one more segment here on this show before we get out of here. Locks of the week, real quick. What do you got? When you look into week 5 and the lines that we got in week 5, what's your lock of
I'm going
the
for
week?
a over here. I know overs haven't been hot of late, but this is one team I feel good about betting overs with, and it's the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
This feels a lot, obviously heading play the Philadelphia Eagles. They're at home this week. So to me, it feels like a lot like the week 1 matchup where they were against Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles are going to pounce. They've been a first half team. The Eagles have been the best first half team in the NFL so far this season, which means they're going to get out to a big lead. 48.5, they're out to a big lead, and Cardinals are going to be the second half team that they've been a lot this year. Kyler Murray playing hero ball has been excellent so far this season. So Eagles go up big early. Cardinals make it somewhat of a game. Probably still a 15, 20-point game. Probably won't be that close. And if it is, I do think the over hits either way.
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to go with the Titans overcoming being 2-point favorites against the Washington Commanders. I mentioned this a little bit before when I talked about the Titans. Their pass rush up front, Nico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, I think it's going to be too much for Washington's pass blocking, which has not been good as of late. I think it started off the year pretty well. Charles Leno had a really nice first game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they've just been struggling as a unit since then. And so I'm going to go with the Titans there to overcome that 2-point favorite, even though they are a road team. Ooh, we got the B. We got the B right there, the money value from Greenline. So I like where I'm at. Titans covering that 2 points. What was the answer for the question of the day? We got to get to that.
Okay.
Number 1 picks.
The
highest graded number 1 picks.
I'm gonna probably lean Burrow and Stafford as well, along with Myles Garrett. But I can see Jadeveon Clowney sneaking in there because we don't know.
Stafford? No, Stafford leads the league in turnover-worthy plays with Derek Carr.
Does he?
Yes.
Did he?
Yes.
I thought it was Matt Ryan did.
No, I think Matt Stafford's up there. Maybe I'm getting my Matts mixed up, but if he's not tied for first, he's close.
Is there like another first overall pick that we're just forgetting about? Is Alex Smith still in the league?
No.
I'm trying to think. So let's just go back through first overall picks. Right?
Okay.
So Trayvon Walker.
Yep.
Then Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
Who's not going to be, I don't think, in that mix after last week.
Burrow.
Joe Burrow, who, a bad week 1, but I think he's played fine since.
Burrow's probably in there. Burrow's probably in
Burrow.
there.
Then Kyler Murray. Then Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't say either of those. Kyler, if
Maybe.
any, possibly.
Maybe.
2017 was Myles Garrett, right?
Mm-hmm.
2016, Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. 2015 was Jameis.
Yep.
I don't think he's in there, right? Like, I
No,
don't think it'd be Jameis.
there's no way he's in there.
2014 was Jadeveon.
Clowney. Yep.
13 was Fisher.
Yep.
12 Luck. 11 Newton. 10 was Bradford,
Yep.
right? Or was 9 Bradford?
No, I think 9 was Stafford, and then 10 was Bradford.
Okay, 10 Bradford. 8 was Jake Long. 7 was, is that right? I don't know. We're going too far back, but I don't think anyone else is in the league at that point.
I'm going Burrow, Garrett, probably Clowney.
I'm gonna go Stafford, Garrett, and I'll go Burrow. I'll go Stafford, Garrett, Burrow.
Okay. All right. We're split. We're split on the desk for this one. So what's the final answer here? What's the answer?
You guys aren't going to unify on a final answer?
No. I'm against him. We've unified.
Right.
We've unified for every other trivia. We're going lone wolf here.
All right. You guys were close. It's Garrett, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow.
Oh, it is Kyler.
It is Kyler.
Damn it, Roger.
Son of a.
Yeah.
He got us.
It's those fucking.
You know, I went out on a limb. I
conversions.
picked Clowney. I didn't think that it was Clowney because I've looked up grades a lot over the last couple of weeks and I haven't seen his name near the top of those lists.
It was Matt Ryan that's tied with Carr for turnover place with 9. Stafford has 7.
Okay, so he's
Stafford
close.
only
he's close.
64.9 overall grade. It would appear that let's see, Kyler is at Kyler's at 69.5. That's your one of your 3 highest. Oof.
Do we have a chat champ for the day?
Yeah, Jack Ferguson, he got it right.
Ooh!
He got it right twice, actually. He answered it right at the beginning, and then at the very end, he chimed in again. So, yeah, Jack Ferguson, chat champ.
Jack Ferguson, chat champ, which is, Jack, this holds a lot of power here because tomorrow on the show, we're doing trivia. We're bringing trivia back. We're going to preview Thursday Night Football, but we're also bringing back trivia. It is a jam-packed week this week here on the show. I know we went a little bit longer for these shows, but hopefully you guys enjoyed them. Go ahead.
Technically, Clowney had a higher grade. He just didn't qualify. He's only played 79 snaps this year. So just for the, if you guess Clowney, technically.
What camera can
he does have top 3 grade.
I was right.
And then who was your third one?
I was duped. Burrow.
It was Kyler. It was higher than Burrow, though. So.
No, I won't listen to that part. I won't listen to that part. I was right, damn it. Appreciate you guys listening to the show. Appreciate you guys getting in on the progress reports over the last couple of days. They are a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We got trivia. It's one of the best show formats that we have. We're going to have a lot of fun. For Trevor Sikkema, that is Mike Renner. For everybody in the production suite, thank you so much for watching It's Just Football. We will see you guys right here tomorrow. See you then.
It's not about politics. It's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
Not just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.